Let's chat with Pete McGuire, CEO of XM Group, live at our Sydney CBD studio. Place where they are burning coal. Pete, well, welcome to the show. You're back from India. Walk us just through the feeling there. What's it like on the ground?
Well, good afternoon, Carson. The feeling on the ground is if you don't have brownouts as far as power cut-offs and you have a clear day and there's no power disruption across a nation, then it's a glorious day for India. But as we know, their consumption as far as energy production and of course the demand side is just astronomical, and the projected numbers forward really throw the ball out of the park. So overall it's such a complex country in every facet and form, from the poorest of the poor to the wealthy of the Ambani family building $1 billion home. So that just gives you an idea what goes on. That's just Mumbai.
And is the Prime Minister really, in the last chance saloon though, there he was, kind of the king of Gujarat state. He made good. He turned that country really within a country around. But to take that same mentality nationwide has proved something of his Achilles heel. Where does he stand now on that one? The ability to deliver, get more runs on the board.
Yeah, well, exactly right. But I mean, the way that Modi's, I suppose, mission statement has certainly been to embrace India, to take it forward and to create that impression globally that they truly are a powerhouse. And when you look at their energy consumption moving into number 3, you look at electricity consumption and what they're doing, mathematically and the sciences and so on, they're nothing to be laughed at. So he's got an agenda. He's a forward thinker, and he's truly a global statesman. And I think that he's the right man at the right time. And I feel very confident that he's doing some wonderful things for India, and that will maintain over the years ahead.
Pete, Greg McKenna from Business Insider and AxiTrader. Just moving to now the markets that India is going to influence in the years ahead. Over the last week or so, we've heard Halliburton and then Schlumberger both say that the oil market's getting back into balance. Is that a bullish or a bearish kind of move, given that OPEC's saying similar things, but these oil service companies suggest increased production? And can India be the swing factor to get back to balance in 2017?
Well, a couple of things, Greg, and good afternoon. First off, you've got to think of where the hedge funds are playing into this, and the short positions are up 24%. There's rig counts increased over the last 4 weeks as far as Baker Hughes is concerned. And you're going to see that drop off as far as consumption coming out of the US going into August and September after the vacation has returned home as far as gasoline. As far as India is concerned, yeah, big numbers moving forward as far as growth patterns, but they don't, and this is what's got to be thought through, they don't buy the same amount of motor vehicles as what China does. Per capita, you would think they'd be nearly neck to neck, but in motorbikes, it's not far off, but motor cars is about 1 to 10. So they've got a long way to grow, Greg, over the next matter of a decade or two to really get more people on mobility and as far as energy consumption individuals.
Pete, Scott Phillips, what has to happen for that oil breakdown? It's been this coiled spring for such a long time, the country most likely, and yet it still hasn't managed to just grasp the nettle, if you like, really take advantage of that opportunity. What has to happen? Can it happen? How quickly can it happen? It's one thing to say there's an opportunity there, but how do we unleash the power that is India?
The great problem, Scott, is when you see poverty and India is really, it's so confronting. And I think every parent should take a teenager there just to give them an idea that it truly is the real world. And that poverty is so, it's just in your face. And I think that they've got, as I said, a long way to go up the curve until they get to that everyone's driving a motor vehicle. And that's literally, it's a century. How it's going to happen over the 21st century is going to be a great century for India. And I think over the next 20 to 40 years, it's really going to be a vibrant economy, huge, technology advances, and it's really going to be, the light's going to shine on it over the next 30 to 40 years.
And yet one word puts all of that poverty into some kind of context, and that is Diwali. Talk us about, that certainty of a ramp up cyclically in demand. When is that upon us, or has it been and gone?
Well, Carson, they have festivals as we have football games, and they're such a wonderful nation. They have weddings, and you get 5,000 people attend, and that's a small wedding. So you've got all of that consumption. They have festivals over the given year, and Diwali, of course, and then the Indian wedding season, of course. And different times of the year, there's different increases as far as consumption patterns. But it's got such an interesting country. It really has so much to offer, and I think that, you know, when you look at Christine Lagarde's numbers moving forward and the IMF and what they're saying, it truly is going to be 7% plus growth over the next, 5 to 10 years, and that's going to compound up. So it's just gaining momentum week and year on year.
Pete, if we move across to gold, India can really move the dial on that market. We've had a nice big fat rally. The market's come back. It looks a little bit vulnerable. How do you see that kind of evolving in the next, few weeks and a month?
Well, you think about it, Greg, we're down 2.1% about a week and a half ago. Then last week we were down 1.1%. We're nearly, 3 and a bit % down. The heat's coming off it. You've got equities at all-time highs as far as S&P. You've got Asian stock market up to 9-month highs. It's rallying very strongly. You've got a US dollar that's, really roaring ahead, and we're only a month after Brexit. It's quite surprising that you've seen this big turnaround over the last 2 to 2.5 weeks. So while you're seeing a softness across the Eurozone, there are other markets out there that are certainly gaining momentum and moving forward very quickly. So that's just... that's the markets for you. And I think the way gold's going at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised for it to touch 1,300. It seems to be one-way traffic. Silver's holding a little bit harder, but the gold market, certainly softness is creeping in.
We're in a strange scenario right now. We've got low interest rates, we've got a booming equity market, we've got gold on the rise. Those things, 2 or 3 of those things might happen, but not all 3 at a time, at least as the traditional wisdom holds it. We're obviously in some sort of new world at the moment. Where do we go next? Can all 3 be sustained, or does one have to make way?
Well, in US dollar terms, you look at where gold is, but if you roll it across as far as British, the UK pound, and when you think of that, Scott, we're up the best part of, 40-odd%, still at those numbers since the start of the year. Now, it's had a very, very strong uptick. I think it's going to continue as far as, certain currencies, dependent upon the US dollar strength. We've said this, and Carson, we've been saying this now for a year, the unknown of this last 6 months, which is Trump or Clinton getting in? And as it rolls closer to that point, more volatility, I think, will enter the market. Now, we've seen the Brexit. Are there other countries to follow through there and say enough's enough? And what happens if Trump gets in, or, of course, if Hillary? So I think the volatility is going to continue, and it's going to be a very interesting 3 to 4 months ahead of us with US dollar play.
Have you got a view as to who will triumph in the US?
No, I'm not prepared to go there yet, though if you use Michael Moore, the movie producer, and he's not too bad, he's saying it's Trump's victory. So all I'll say is he's a very interesting character indeed.
And on that note, unless, Greg, you have anything to add?
No, I was just going to ask Pete what markets need to be scared of for Trump, or what do you think they're scared of?
Gee, I'll tell you, I think there could be some unsettling as far as the energy markets. I think that he will probably look at possibly subsidising US crude further, and that in turn is going to greatly impact the Middle East. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see a stronger push-up as far as US dollar. So that's going to have some sort of an effect. And what happens as far as interest rates and bond rates? So there's so much melting, that goes into the melting pot. It's a little bit of an unknown at the moment, using the old Donald Rumsfeld.
And is it early curtains for Janet in that scenario?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult, Carson, for her to get a 2 push-up this next 6 months. She might have a go at putting it up once, maybe October, though I think the jury's out on that one. I know their unemployment numbers are fairly strong, but I just think there's too much uncertainty, and I'm worried about what happens to Japan this week and so on. So it's a little bit of an unknown as far as Janet.
Pete, thanking you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carson.
XM Group's CEO there, Pete McGuire. Panel, what are your thoughts?